Good morning to all of you. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I'm Dr. Lee. I'm the program leader um, for the MACG, which stands for MA in Counseling and Guidance. Now, this is a program preview for August 2027 intake. All right, so I'll give you more details in my presentation. Now, before I start my presentation, I would like you guys to think about these very important questions before considering our program. Why do you want to be a professional counselor? I will come back to this question at the end of my presentation. I'll begin with the program objectives, program structure, program requirements, admission methods, scholarship and recognition, and career prospects. Um, Now, this program, MACG, has been developed for two groups of people, people who wants to become a professional counselor, as well as for counseling practitioners who are already in the field for quite some time, who wants to advance and upgrade their skills and knowledge. And you're reassured of receiving a high standard of professional training because MSCG is a professional counseling qualification awarded by Nanyang Technological University. As you know that NTU is ranked among the world's top universities. And it is also fully certified by the Singapore Association for Counseling as a training program for you guys who wants to become a registered counselor in Singapore. And now, in order to make our program to be internationally recognized, we also benchmark our program standard with CACREP. CACREP doesn't mean crab, so it stands for Council for the Accreditation of Counseling and Other Related Educational Programs in the United States. Yeah, in fact, quite a number of our graduates have been working so in other countries, for example, in Malaysia, in the UK, in New Zealand, in Canada, after obtaining our professional qualification. Let me share with you our program objectives. After completing the MACG degree, you will be competent in three core areas: mental health work, interventions, and research and evaluation. Now, these three competency areas can be covered in our 10 core courses as well as two electives. Now, these are the 10 core courses that you'll be taking if you come and join our program. And 10 core courses means that these are the compulsory courses that you're expected to take. If you want to know more about the program content, you can always go to our website. And in addition to these 10 core courses, during your study at the in the MACG program, you have to choose any two electives. Of course, not all of them will be available in one semester. So you'll not be taking all the electives here, but you'll be choosing two. Except for research projects, this is only for practice, research track, that I'm going to talk more about that later. Now, in order to obtain the MACG degree, you will complete 10 core courses, plus two electives, and plus two practicum courses. So altogether, you have to take 14 courses. So this program consists of two tracks. One is a practice track, another one is a practice research track. Um, so both tracks actually share the similar program structure. The only difference is the electives. Now if you are taking the practice track, so you'll be taking 10 core courses plus two general electives and two courses of practicum. If you're going on to do the practice research track, where you have some exposure to the research methodology, then you have to take one general elective and one research project elective. Now, I have to emphasize that this practice, research track is to give some of you, or to provide some of you with some experiences in research. But the magnitude of this elective is not the same as a dissertation. Now, how do you qualify for the research and practice track? And after completing 5 courses, so if let's say if you have a CGPA above 4.50, and you will have two options. Now, you can join the practice research track, or if you are not interested in research, you can always join the practice track. Now, if you have a CGPA below 4.50, then you have only one option, which is a practice track. Yeah. Now, so let me move on to the practicum courses. Uh, s- so as I mentioned earlier, is that there will be two practicum blocks. Remember that practicum 1 is a prerequisite for practicum 2, which means that you cannot take both practicums courses simultaneously. You have to take one after another one. And if you are unable to complete the practicum 1, then you have to wait until they fulfill all the requirements before moving on to practicum 2. Now, for the structure of each of the practicum, so practicum 1 and practicum 2 are all similar in terms of the structure. And so for each of the practicum blocks, there will be a minimum 200 hours contact hours. And so these 200 hours can be broken down into direct client contact, which means minimum 100 hours, and the associated activities. I'll talk more about the associated activities later. Among the 100 hours of a direct client contact, 70 to 90 hours will be allocated for individual counseling, whereas 10 to 30 hours are allocated for group counseling. So in our program, individual counseling and group counseling are the two main modalities that you'll be trained in. So that is why that during practicum, you'll be evaluated according to to these two modalities of clinical practice. Now, now what do we actually means by direct client contact? Which means that you are actually providing counseling with a client, so in a specific setting. So this is different from the sorry. Okay, now this is different from the associated activities. Now, associated activities means that any hours that you'll be clocked during practicum, which do not involve in your direct client contact, will be considered associated activities. So these associated activities include um, say case conferencing, or maybe a consultation at the practicum site, or maybe attending a workshop, or maybe reading journal articles and so on. And why do we have the associated activities as part of the practicum? Because that when you're working as a professional counselor in any organization in the future, you will be expected to attend case conferencing, or maybe shadowing, or maybe peer consultation, or maybe consultation with parents. Let's say if you're working as a school counselor, or maybe you have to work with other professionals in the community, such as psychiatrists, or maybe social workers. So this associated activities is to make sure that your experience in the practicum is very similar to what you'll be doing in the future as a professional counselor. So that is why that in practicum, we will not just be giving you the opportunity to work as a professional counselor and then with a real client, but also to make sure that the practicum experiences will mimic the actual professional practice in the future. All right. And then how do you select the practicum site? There are two options. You can select the practicum site based on our university list of approved practicum sites. We have been collaborating with a number of practicum sites over the last 10 or 20 years. And so these sites know our requirements and they know our needs and their populations of the clienteles are within our our training as the MACG. And of course, I mean that you can also have the option to identify sites yourselves, but subject to the university's approval. The reason why we need to approve the site uh, for is that the some of the sites may not be suitable for training counselors or may not read or the client pool or the population of the practicum sites may not be within our training guidelines or objectives at MACG. For example, MACG is a generic program. It is trained like for the general practitioner. It is not a specialized program. And so let's say if you have identified a site serving the special needs of children, then we will not be able to approve that practicum site because the MACG doesn't prepare you for working with a special needs population. Okay. Now, during each of the practicum blocks of training, you'll be under supervision. Now, in each of the practicum courses, you will receive 36 hours of supervision, which consists of 12 hours of field supervision and 24 hours of group supervision. Field supervision means that each of you will be assigned to one individual field supervisor. Uh, and during the practicum, you will also be required to come back to the campus to attend group supervision. Now, in each of the groups, there will be around 10 to 12 students. So this provides you with a critical mass to share your experiences, your sort of clinical work with the clients. And as compared with field supervision, where you only work with one field supervisor, in a group supervision, you'll be having a chance to listen to each other's ideas, perspectives, and so on. Of course, to some extent that there may be certain differences in terms of the perspective between what your field supervisor may offer to you and what your group members or group supervisor will offer to you. So this is inevitable because that for those of you who are familiar with counseling, you know that counseling is characterized by many, many theoretical orientations. But this is also the strength of the group supervision and as well as the field supervision is to give you the different perspectives to look at your work with your clients now so that you can have a more choice of theoretical orientation, like which theory to work with this particular client. Apart from the 10 core courses and 2 electives that you're expected to go through in our program, you also have to undergo 2 professional development courses. So these 2 professional development courses are not academic courses. Um, uh, so they include micro counseling skills lab, which is designed for some of you who may have very little experience or exposure in counseling before joining our program. And of course, the if you think that you already have sufficient training in micro counseling skills in your own capacity as a counselor in your job before joining our program, you can be exempted from attending the micro counseling skills lab. We also are aware that some of our students before joining our program, when they were working as a counselor or maybe as a social worker or maybe as any kind of social service practitioner, they might have already attended something similar to basic counseling skills. And so if you have received training in micro counseling skills before, you can also can be exempted from attending this micro counseling skills lab. Yeah. Again, I mean that even if you have already attended a similar workshop before joining a program, you're still welcome to join the micro counseling skills lab in the MACG. Anyway, this is free of charge. I mean that you can always, I mean, that make some time to join a program. Kind of this micro skills counseling skill lab. This micro counseling skills lab will be held in the first semester, sometime in in August or September. Now, another professional development course that you are expected to take is a personal therapy. As you know that the working as a professional counselor can be quite stressful. And so the purpose of this personal therapy is to help you to become more aware of your own stress. And also, as you know, that no one is free from problems. Sometimes knowingly, unknowingly, that you may transfer your problems into the counseling with the client. So this personal therapy provides you with the opportunity to become aware of your emotional issues, so that you will not transfer those emotional issues to contaminate or to complicate the counseling process. Yeah. Uh, and 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 of course, I mean, the personal therapy can also help you to experience as someone who is sitting across um, from the position as a counselor in the counseling room, so that you become much more aware of how your clients might be experiencing in the future. All right. The now of course the kind of you can use personal therapy for also for your own personal development. Not necessarily must be uh, a platform for you to address your problems. So for example, you may have a certain kind of career aspiration, or maybe you want to become a better person, or maybe that you have certain kind of a developmental goal in your life. Now you can always work with your personal therapist for this particular objective. So this personal therapy consists of five counseling sessions. And the person who is providing the personal therapy is a private practitioner. It will not be conducted by a faculty member because of confidentiality and privacy. And of course, I mean that so as instructor, we will not be interested in knowing what's going on in your personal life, because that is very personal to you, and we also do not want to be biased against you. So once you know about what's going through, in your own life, yeah. So this personal therapy is completely private and confidential. Yeah. Okay. Again, I mean that's similar to micro counseling skills lab. If you have already attended counseling, or you have met a mental health professional before, you can be exempted from personal therapy. So this personal therapy will be held uh, during your first practicum. Now, now let me move on to who will be the instructors teaching you. And all the courses will be taught by instructors or professors who are experienced practitioners, teachers, and researchers trained at reputable local and overseas universities. And all the courses are skills-based, practical, with a good balance between theory and practice. As you know that counseling is so is theoretically guided. So this why that we have uh, uh, to share with you or to train you in evidence-based practices so that you can have theories to guide your practice in the future. Yeah. Okay. And now training counselors is so it's very I mean it's very demanding and laborious. So this is why that we keep our class size very small to 15 to 20 people so that we can pay you personal attention, guidance, supervision, and also allows the maximum interaction among the students as well as between the students as the professors. Yeah. Okay. Now, let me move on to the program requirements. In terms of the course registration, the maximum number of courses that you will register for per semester or per week, to some extent, quite difference between the full-time students or the part-time students. If you join a program as a full-time student, the maximum number of courses that you're allowed to take per semester or per week is four. Okay. We do not want you to take too many courses because that we also quite concerned about your mental health because that if you have followed my presentation so far, you know that MACG is very demanding and very intensive. Yeah. And so that is why that we're going to make sure that you're taking not many courses and also so you need time to digest and then to reflect on the classes and the things that you learn so that you can transfer what you learn from class to the so into the clinical practice no later. And if you join a program as a part-time student, the maximum courses that you can take per semester or per week will be two. Of course, I mean that for some of you who may be available in certain semester and you think that you have more time, uh, and then you also think that you can cope with the stress, so with the program leader's approval, you can take an additional course, but the maximum will be three. Yeah, but you cannot take additional two courses because if you're taking two additional courses, which means that you'll be taking four. So four courses per semester, which means that you have to convert your study status from part-time to full-time. Now, most classes are taught from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. during weekdays, and some classes are taught from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. during weekdays. Again, so we are very concerned about the students' well-being and success, and the mental health, and so there's no weekend classes. Yeah. Now, full-time and part-time students attend same classes. Now, some of the full-time students actually ask if all the classes or most of the classes are held in the evening, then what would they be doing during daytime then? Uh, Now, often, so I tell them at the beginning of the semester that they will spend time during daytime, not for going to the pub or going to somewhere else, but actually to read all the required journal articles and or maybe papers and then to prepare for assignments and so on. So some extent that they have no time during daytime to do something else. Yeah. In fact, I mean there are a number of full-time students, they concur with me at the end of their training. I mean they say that indeed that they no time during daytime. So then for part-time students, I mean that so since that you're part-time students, I presume that you may be working during daytime. So this is why that uh, it can be quite stressful to join your programs as a part-time student. Yeah. So you really need to learn how to juggle um, your job or maybe some other commitments. For example, you may be stay-at-home dad or may stay at home, moms, and then you're taking this course as a part-time student. I mean, they really need to learn how to cope with the stress. Yeah. Okay. So that brings me to another requirements, which is how long that you need to take in order to complete our degree. Um, if you're a full-time student, the minimum year of candidature is 1.5. The maximum year of candidature is 2 years. So which means that you cannot finish everything within a year time. So in fact, this is not possible. Yeah. Given the number of classes and courses that you'll be taking during the semester. But full-time students typically complete their study in 2 years. Yeah. Okay. If you're a part-time student, the minimum years of candidature is 2 years, and then the maximum years of candidature is 4 years. Yeah. But typically, part-time students complete their study in 3 to 4 years. Yeah. Okay. So you can see the kind of intensity and extensivity about this program. Yeah. And what kind of applicants that we prefer? We prefer someone with a bachelor degree with honors in psychology, counseling, social work, education, or other social sciences. And also relevant work experience, preferably with 2 years in direct counseling or social service settings. The reason why we have these preferences is that the social science degree in particular psychology or counseling can help you to grasp the ideas of the counseling concepts pretty quickly as compared to someone who has never been trained in that particular discipline. Yeah, because as you know that counseling, a lot of theories in counseling are actually embedded in psychology, in psychiatry, and so on. Yeah. Uh, Having said that, in order to enrich our classroom and I mean atmosphere. We do welcome and consider applicants from other major as well. For example, over the last few decades, I mean, or cohorts, we have accepted applicants who are trained in health sciences such as nurses, nursing, occupational therapy, and also in engineering, including architecture or business, including accountancy and so on, but on a case-by-case basis. Because that we do recognize that some people maybe after working for many years, especially for those mid-career professionals, they may have certain callings, or they maybe have certain kind of career aspirations, or maybe they have certain kind of realization that they wants to become a counselor to help the needy in the society. Yeah. So that is why that it is very important for you to specify very clearly why you want to become a professional counselor. The question that I posed to you at the beginning of this presentation. And now, so in the application materials, you will come across this task that you need to do, that is to tell us why you want to become a professional counselor and why you want to join our program. So because of that, even for those people who have a first-class degree in psychology or social sciences, or maybe have direct client experiences, but let's say if they cannot convince the selection committee about why they want to become a professional counselor and or their career path, they may not be accepted by a program because our program is very, very competitive. As I mentioned to you earlier on, is that our class size is pretty small. There are only about 15 to 20. And then every year, we have received more than 100 applicants. Yeah. Okay, now, as I said earlier on, is that this program preview is targeting for those of you who are considering joining a program in August 2027. Okay, now not August 2026. Yeah. So there is only one intake per academic year. Um, and the next intake, August 2027, the application period is from November 2026 through January 2027. And the selection exercise runs from February to March 2027, and you'll be notified of the outcome in April or May 2027. Now, why we're taking so long is that, so as I mentioned to you earlier on, is that there are many applicants. And then we ensure that we're taking the right candidates with the right attributes, with the right profile. Yeah. So that is why that we take almost, I mean, that 4 to 5 months in order to ensure that we get the right sort of candidate. Yeah. So please be patient. I mean that if you're considering our programs. Yeah. Mhm. And now scholarship is available for MACG. Um, and also there is this MACG Gold Medal um, uh, to be awarded for the best graduate. Yeah. Okay. Now, what will happen to you after you obtaining the our degree? Yeah, graduates work with diverse settings, MOE schools, other educational institutions such as international schools, community mental health services centers, counseling centers, social service agencies, family service centers. As you know that, I'm not so sure whether you heard about this FAM, FAM, so which is an initiative um, of the families of the Ministry of Family Service and the Social Services. And over the next few years, by the 2030, they are going to hire a few hundred family counselors. And so that is why the family service centers will become so one of the place for our graduates to work at, okay, in the future as a family counselors. Now, our graduates also work in public sectors such as Singapore prisons, SF counseling centers, and also working in a clinical setting like hospitals, psychiatric rehabilitation centers, and of course, some of our graduates also become a private practitioners either immediately after obtaining the degree or maybe working in an organization for a few years and then they set up their own private practice. Yeah, but no matter how like what you'll be doing, uh, now I'd like to I mean to emphasize that as I mentioned earlier on, is that this MACG is recognized by the Singapore Association for Counseling, and the almost all our graduates have to work towards a registration in the future. The Now becoming a registered counselor in Singapore will take many years. So if you are joining our program as a full-time student, so you spend 2 years training at NTU, and then you will take another about 2 to 3 years to work towards a registration, because that according to the Singapore Association for Counseling, the requirement is that you have to clock another 600 hours under supervision after obtaining our degree. So this 600 hours may take around 2 to 3 years. Yeah. So altogether, it may take around 5 years to become a registered counselor in Singapore. Of course, that if you're part-time students, I mean that you will take even longer, than this period of time. Yeah. So this is why that you have to think very, very carefully before joining our program or to become professional counselor in Singapore. Yeah. So the whole process can become quite demanding and can be quite stressful, but of course can be quite fun as well. Okay. Okay, now, so if you want to have more information about the MECG, you can always visit our practicum site. Sorry, now our website to get more information about requirements, the program structures, the objectives, and other information such as the fees, and so on. Okay, now this is what I posted to you at the beginning of my presentation, right? Why do you want to become a professional counselor? Yeah. Now this is not just for the sake of applying for a program, but because that the working as a professional counselor can be fun, but also okay, but can also be quite stressful because that you're working with vulnerable and communities in the community in the populations. So this is why that the think about this very carefully before joining a program, or maybe you want to become a professional counselor. Yeah. Okay. So with this, I mean that I thank you for spending time with me in this beautiful Saturday morning. Good morning.